What up, son? Prince Sports here for raw, uncut, unbiased sports talk. Now, let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets, okay? This team is now a championship contender, even more than what they was before. So now you got James Harden. The first thing people say, oh, it's only one basketball. Three superstars can't share one basketball, which is true, okay? There's going to have to be some sacrifice. We talked about that. But I always said, once you get a super team put together, the rest of the pieces is easy because all you have to do is find players that complement the styles of the three style players that you have, okay? Now, the first thing you guys sit there and say, well, they ain't got no defense. They gave up all their defense. And I said, role players are replaceable. But guess what? Superstars are not replaceable. Meaning, superstars are not a dime a dozen, but role players are. You can find role players anywhere, whether it's the D League, the G League, anything, okay? So, I thought of a list of all the free agents that the Brooklyn Nets could get because they got 3 roster spots open. The Brooklyn Nets have 3 roster spots open. And since we say that they lack defense, then why not give them some defense? So here's all the honorable mentions of some guys that the Brooklyn Nets could pick up, but I don't recommend. One is little short Isaiah Thomas. Now, he plays next to no defense. He's just scoring, so you don't need him on the Brooklyn Nets. He just to be a favorable name, a known name, not worth picking up for a contract. Another guy is Jamar Crawford, okay? He's an instant walking bucket. Even at the age of 40 years old, he'd be there for cheap. But I don't want Jamar Crawford on the Brooklyn Nets if I'm a GM for the Brooklyn Nets because he's a defensive liability, right? So we can't take him. So that's a honorable mentions of players that you could take, but I don't recommend that you take. Now, you got 3 spots open. So let's talk about some guys that you should take. Number 1, and the most impressive one on this list, to me, when I found out some role players, free agents that were available, is none other than the veteran himself, Joakim Noah, the ring chaser. Okay? He hates LeBron James. He wants to beat LeBron. If they meet the Lakers in the finals, Joakim Noah will be pumped up for that. And one of the things Joakim Noah does that the Brooklyn Nets could ask for, he's a veteran. 1, he could put all those boys in their place, check their egos, and let them know, call them out on their bullshit. Number 2, he could rebound. Number 3, he could defend. He could do all 3 things that the Brooklyn Nets could use. Strong leadership, defense, and rebounding. Never gets old. So he could win a championship finally with the Brooklyn Nets if he signs with that team, a good competitor. All right. Number 2 on my list was an ex-Cavalier that played with Kyrie Irving. None other than Jamar Crawford. Okay. He plays defense. He guards perimeter players. You don't need him for scoring. You just get him in there and say, hey, come in here and start scoring. That's what I want you for. Jamar Crawford, defense and defense only. Because here's the thing about the Brooklyn Nets. Out of those 3 big superstars they got on their team, you don't have to play all 3 of those guys at the same time. You could sit 2 down and let 1 play. Then sit the other 2 down and let the other guy play. You don't have to play all 3 of those guys at the same time all the time. And you don't have to let those 3 guys all sit at the bench at the same time. It's a 48-minute game. 3 superstars in their prime. You can't let all 3 of them sit down. Let 1 play all the time. Let 1 get some of that smoke, some of that action. Okay? So another role player that you could pick is none other than Michael Beasley. Okay? He's on his last leg. He'll be for cheap. He's looking for a team to go to that he could sign and compete for a championship. He spaces the floor and he plays defense. So Michael Beasley is another good pick. So then I got another last pick, a big man. He's a defender, Jordan Bell, okay? You could take Jordan Bell, put him on the Brooklyn Nets. He'll guard the perimeter. protect the paint, rim protector, boom, you got yourself a big defender. All right. Now, there's some other guys like John Henson. Okay, he was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks. He's a young Buck. So if you want to go a young defensive player, a guy that just want to prove himself, put him on the Brooklyn Nets. Let him get some burn. Let him get some play. You know, he got traded for Andre Drummond with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he has playing time from last season. So you can always get a young defensive player if you want. But I don't recommend John Henson because it's not a quote-unquote sexy pick. All right? And then last but not least, if you just want to go crazy with it, I don't recommend the Brooklyn Nets to sign this guy because he's connected to LeBron, actually. He may want to go back to the Lakers. But it's none other than drunk J.R. Henny Smith. Yes, he's available. He's free for the taking, and he'll be cheap. Okay, so those are all the players that the Brooklyn Nets could pick up. You could pick up 3 out of those mix. So if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I'm taking Joakim Noah, I'm taking Jordan Bell, and I'm taking Amon Shepard. I want 3 of those guys. I want all 3 of those guys. Period. You know, those are my 3 defensive players that I would give a lot of play in the regular season to. So there you go. You got role players out the wazoo that you could get, okay? You don't have to worry about role players. What you need to worry about on a basketball team will always be superstars, okay? Do you have them or do you don't? But once you got them, you do whatever you takes to please them and put the right talent around them. That's how you win championships, you all right? Those 3 guys are offensive juggernauts, okay? They're the new lethal weapon, big 3, okay? The beg for mercy, big 3. You seen how I put that post up or the picture of them with the G Unit frame. But if those guys want to score for the majority of the time, with Kevin Durant only the true defensive player in the pack, James Harden's defense has gotten better. That's something that nobody talks about. James Harden's defense has gotten better since last season. So James Harden and Kevin Durant do play defense now. Only guy that's really the defensive liability is Kyrie Irving, but look at his size. So you want a true defensive stopper, you got those guys to protect the rim. So that's more than enough. They won't stop Anthony Davis, all right? But they give him at least a little bit of, you got to earn it. And Joakim Noah ain't going to sit there and let you cook him all day. He'll foul the hell out of you, and he'll get rough and tough with you. So you need some of that toughness. I recommend Joakim Noah. He's a veteran, and he got all the right tools to fit that Brooklyn Nets team. And it's Brooklyn, for Christ's sakes. It's New York City, all right? Brooklyn's regarded as one of the toughest boroughs in terms of mentality. So why not get Joakim Noah? He'll fit well with Brooklyn. Prince Sports out. Peace.